The annual GM survey drops every year right before the NBA season starts, and it gives us kind of an in on how GMs are really feeling heading into the season about the players, the teams, everything. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. And while we're not going to break down the full GM survey today on this episode, we're actually going to be breaking that down live tonight with the full squad, all five of us breaking it down. But with that said, I want to talk about one aspect of it right now. And I want to talk about the Rookie of the Year voting. Now, we just had Chet and Wemby go against it in a preseason game that was fun to see. And in a way, you just knew you were looking at what could potentially be the future of the NBA in there, right? Chet, who's, had issues with injuries in his first season, which caused him to miss his full season, which puts him in being eligible to be Rookie of the Year this year. And that brings us to that GM survey, right? And so in that survey, when GMs were asked who's going to be the Rookie of the Year, it came down really to three players primarily, and that is Victory Wembanyama with 50% of the vote. That's half of the vote just to Wemby, right? And then Scoot Henderson getting 27% of the vote, and Chet Holmgren getting 20% of the vote. That left everybody else to separate that, right? Shasha with Sacramento, he got 3% of the vote. But when it comes down to it, when you look at that, right, Wemby definitely, it makes sense for him to definitely get the majority of that vote. But when you look at the potential Rookie of the Year race, all three of those players, Scoot, Chet, and Wemby, all have their own chances to win that award. Now, a common thought would have you go to Wemby, just the fact that he's being coached by Greg Popovich. He's definitely going to, there's no question, is he going to be featured as much or get the stats to really do that? When you look at Chet, right, you have questions on if Chet is going to be as featured in the offense to get that level of votes, only because of what he has down there, right? Chet is joining a completely different situation than the than Wemby with the San Antonio Spurs, and even Scoot Henderson in that as well, right? Now that the Portland Trailblazers have moved on from Dame Lillard, they're embracing the youth movement fully down there, or I should say up there in Portland as well now. And so Scoot is going to get his line shares of the shots, right? You look at it as well with Chauncey Billups. Scoot's going to probably be the biggest part of that offense. Outside of players, of course, like Jeremy Grant, you also have DeAndre Ayton. There's players who've been in this league who you kind of know what you're going to have. But I do think Chet's going to get a huge opportunity on the offense to really get those numbers, to get him those votes. But when it comes down to Wemby, right? Wemby, I don't know if he's going to have the numbers, right, of what a Scoot could have or anything like that. But he's definitely going to have the impact. And you're going to be able to see Scoot Henderson's impact of the game, because not only is he a two-way player on both sides of the ball, he's going to be a factor in that offense, both with his passing, his dribbling ability. He's going to be a big part of that defense, especially if, Pop uses him in the way that I think he may, and kind of having a lot of filter in there. He's going to get the eye-popping shots. He's going to get the blocks. He's going to get all those type of things, right? So it's shaping up for Wemby to definitely get that in. You come into this, Wemby is potentially the generational player out of all these players, right? And that's not to say that Scoot isn't going to have an amazing career. That's not to say that Chet isn't going to have an amazing career. These are going to be players that we're going to be talking about, hopefully in the NBA, barring injuries or anything else like that, for years and years to come with these guys. But Wemby, he's different, right? And that was proven, even though, listen, Chet gave him some business. Let's be clear here. Chet gave him some business in that preseason matchup, but Wemby's going to have his line share. Yeah, you got Trey Jones down there. You got Devin Vassell, who, had a lot of shots at the time that he played last year. Keldon Johnson, Zach Collins, all in that starting lineup. But it really comes down to, we know that Wemby's going to get that. But I think this is going to be, and kind of the whole point of this video that I'm dropping, just a quick one, is that this is going to be an exciting season, because these rookies are stepping in to where they're clear parts of their franchise's future, right? Wemby, everything that the San Antonio Spurs do going forward is going to be built around Wemby, right? You got Scoot Henderson, who I know I haven't talked a huge hell of a lot in this video, but getting Scoot finally made the Portland Trailblazers comfortable to move Dame. Now, it did take Dame to request a trade for that to happen, but listen, you have a guard, and we know already, right? You're factoring in what Dame already was to that system. Yes, Chauncey's going to change that some, but you have full youth movement, right? You got Scoot, you got Anthony Simons, you got Shaden Sharp. They are all going to get every opportunity to really get out there, run, do those type of things. And Scoot, we know what a dynamic point guard can do even as a rookie. And I would not be surprised at all that Wemby still walks away with the Rookie of the Year voting. But we're looking at Scoot and saying, hey, listen, Scoot had a hell of a season. A hell of a season. And I'm marking it maybe comparable to the Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James. You know, Carmelo, if he would have walked away with that Rookie of the Year award, a lot of, basketball purists would have understood it. A lot of people would have said, but it's LeBron, right? And I think that may be what it comes down to as well. And I honestly think Scoot's walking into a situation where the team around him is more suited to what both his deficiencies and strengths are, right? Scoot is not an amazing three-point shooter by any stretch of the imagination. Now, he can knock it down, but when you look at Scoot's ability to break down the defense, get to the rim, finish around the rim, and you have Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe who are solid shooters already around him as well. And then the pick and roll potential with him and DeAndre Ayton, Scoot is going to have, I think, an amazing season as well. And Portland fans are in for a treat looking at what Scoot Henderson is going to be for that team now and in the future. But when you look at this Rookie of the Year voting, I think that this is going to be one of the most fun years that we have as far as just looking at what these players are going to be able to do for their future. And I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? Do you think the Scoot, Wemby, and Chet Holmgren, when you look at these players coming in as the favorites to win the Rookie of the Year, what do you think? Or do you think there's an outside chance a player like Brandon Miller or somebody else really steps into their role as well and really comes in and maybe shines and gets that Rookie of the Year award as well, or makes it even more interesting than looking at just these top three players and their potential to win the award? Let me know all that down below. Make sure you guys are following the show at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBACentralShow@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related, and I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.